Okay, hello everybody, and thank you for tuning in once again to the Black Box Podcast. Been a while since the last upload, and very nicely I heard from one of the commenters. They were asking if this is available on iTunes, and no, this podcast is purely available on YouTube, and that's sort of the short of it. Okay, let's get into the mix of things right now. This is going to be the first one talking about some of the new tax plans that have been going on, discussed by mostly the Republicans. And the short story is, I want to ask you, as Americans or people from around the world, wouldn't it be nice if we could find some sort of common ground between this sort of wing of the Republican Party that is comprised of this kind of libertarian, kind of Ron Paul school of thought that is talking about getting rid of the Federal Reserve, that is talking about, at the very least, conducting a more thorough audit on the Fed. Remember, of course, they did do the partial audit on the Federal Reserve. And also talking about lower income taxes, particularly for the middle class and the working class families. Now, we have that sort of thing, but what Ron Paul was also very big about was, he said, anytime you tax someone's income, it is stealing. In plain English, anytime you tax someone's income, it is stealing. Meaning that the government did not do that prior to 1913. And I think that is sort of one of the heart and soul tenets that really builds up what people know as small government. They're really trying to get sort of, get not the government not only out of their social issues, but also about their financial issues. And also about, talking about, a family trying to get more food on the table and pay their rent, pay the mortgage, and pay for things like school supplies and not have to pinch every single penny. So wouldn't it be nice if we could have something like that? But also look at the sort of more center-left qualities of the tax Wall Street Party, which is all about the Wall Street sales tax. We're not talking about taxing, somebody's income. The Wall Street sales tax, as if I understand, is more about the transactions of the investment banks. Not talking about the personal savings banks, but the investment banks. If we put more of a tax on them. Over the years, like in the past, I was kind of against the capital gains tax. Now, as I get a little older, I'm thinking more that maybe we need to go along with what Warren Buffett was saying all along, and what Ben Stein was also saying all along, is that we need to be taxing capital gains. And there's really just sort of nothing detrimental to the U.S. economy about that. And the biggest argument for that is that having higher capital gains taxes does not impede the functions of corporations. You might hear Representative Peter King talk about that from New York, but saying that, if you tax the businesses, they won't be able to function. But that's not exactly true, because, once they get to a certain level of wealth, capital gains taxes do not slow anybody down. And the biggest thing is, this needs to be very closely applied to major corporations. It needs to be applied to Wall Street, in a sense. Not talking about the day traders, talking about the investment banks. We're not talking about somebody sitting at home on TD Ameritrade. Talking about the investment banks. And wouldn't it be great if we could combine the sort of libertarian empowerment of the individual and also provide the more center-left approach of putting the tax on not a person, but Wall Street sales, on the investment banks themselves. And if you could take these two things together, it's a lot of food for thought right now, and that's sort of the motivation behind this podcast. What do you think that will be the result of that? Question 1, are you in favor of a capital gains tax? Question 2, are you in favor of zero to no income tax for the middle class and the working class families? And one thing to also talk about is what the Libertarian Party was trying to promote was something called the fair tax. And that is more like trying to put a larger sales tax out there, not taxing income, but taxing sales. Now, I will ask you, what would you respond to this? 1% national sales tax. During the 2011 GOP primaries, the candidate Herman Cain was all about a 9% national sales tax. That's 9 cents on the dollar. And what do you think about just adding a 1% national sales tax? I'm talking right now, tomorrow. Meaning, like, if you live in a state that has 7 cents state sales tax, you buy a loaf of bread for $1, it's $1.07, right? Tomorrow, you buy that loaf of bread, it's $1.08. And you would not be taxing income. You would be taxing sales. And the very big difference is, income is your money coming in that comes to you. Sales tax is money going out. That's money that you have chosen to spend. And yes, I understand that some people are forced to spend things, like, of course, anyone with children is going to be forced to make purchases, this, that, and the other. But the real thing to always understand with that is, if you are making sales, to some degree, you have choice of how it goes out. You have choice of what you're buying, for the most part. And do you think that any sort of revenue would be generated from a 1% national sales tax in all 50 states? Probably the territories, too. Okay, so, just again, recap. Are you in favor of a capital gains tax? Are you in favor of zero to no income taxes for middle and lower class families? And the third point, would you be in favor of a 1% national sales tax taking effect right now, starting in 2018? Say anything you have to say, anything at all, Republican or Democrat. This is a nonpartisan podcast, but anything is open. Leave a comment below, and I'll talk to you soon.